Yes, welcome everyone. Gather round the fireplace so that I may entertain you all. It's my plan for today. To get all the people in the chat entertained, and then I'll be like, are you not entertained? Very beautiful day today. Yesterday wasn't such a beautiful day. I was under the weather, so I didn't stream Final Fantasy, and at the same time I didn't make my stream where I talk about politics. I did work a lot in order to make a really good video game review, which you can find it on my other channel. And talked about the controversial subject on my main channel that might get me into trouble. It got demonetized, and I filed for an appeal. I'm curious if I had said any dangerous talk. But yeah, no, I'm back at work. Back in the seatbelt so that I can entertain you all. There's I'm for oh, come on. What should we talk about today? Did you see that Styx Hexenhammer is going to refuse to debate people on BreadTube? Like that is the situation we're at. I think I want I think I will make a video when I'm actually talking about this. Yeah, I mean, I'm noticing that the people on the far left, they're doing the internet blood sports type of debating, where you make a video about the person, usually someone that has more viewers than you, and you make some accusations in the hopes that the person is going to be wanting to defend himself, and then you're like, all right, let's make a debate, and you get super chats for the debate. Now, again, like this is a tactic that has been done a lot in the past. I mean, we had seen this with atheists and Christians having these debates. We have seen this with social justice warriors like feminists, not so much, because they refuse to engage and platform a bigot. But again, like the internet blood sports type of debates, and now we're seeing this. The problem is, and I'll make a video about explaining this, due to the terms of service of the platform, you cannot have honest debates anymore. For example, what was his name? Hassan Piker. Hassan Piker said something incredibly offensive. He said that America deserved 9/11. He did this on air and he got banned for it. Now, I wouldn't ban him. I don't think it's okay. I just, like, despite the fact that, yes, it's very offensive. It is absolutely blah, 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 blah. It's his opinion. You know, it's not harming other people for having this opinion. And I would rather have more people know that this is what he believes rather than put it under the rug and pretend it didn't happen and give him like, yeah. So it's really how the platform is. Like, look at David Icke. He was getting interviewed, I think by a journalistic publication. Had 80,000 people watching. And the stream gets taken down. Now, what does this tell me? It tells me that if David Icke would have gotten in public, in a stadium, he could have packed a stadium full of people, and he could have said exactly the same things, and nothing would have happened to him. But on YouTube, his channel taken down, so on and so forth. So no, I legitimately do not think that YouTube is a place where you can have debates anymore. You have to think really clearly about what you say. The terms of service are becoming more and more restrictive. And even if you stream somewhere else, like on DLive, and you say something there, grifters can use that in order to deplatform you from Patreon or other places. So, you know, I'm sorry. I understand where Styx is coming from. I really do. When maybe BetShoot has live streams, and you can say these things on Bishop, maybe then. But yeah, no, I can understand why we're not going to have any more debates anytime soon. And this is why you don't have YouTubers having co-hosts anymore. Like, I can get another guy. For example, I can get Antifa Romania to come here and co-host a show with me. I think it would be very entertaining, especially if you were to admit it. But again, if he says something crazy, it's my channel that suffers. You know, like, I can police what I say, but I can't police what my guests are saying. Apparently, LeftTube is not only far-left people. There's a lot of social democrats, liberals, social libertarians, left libertarians, eco-libertarians. Okay, so a bunch of communists with different names. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, but seriously, like, I noticed that people on the left cannot distinguish between an ANCAP, a libertarian, and a conservative. So why should I do the effort? It's a lot more convenient. Oh, all of them are Nazi. Okay, well, all of them are communists. Yeah, no, like, I think the video format. Like, I see, a lot of people will say, well, Viso, you're against free speech. No. You can say whatever you want on your channel. I'm not going to go on your channel and try to flag your videos or try to get you silenced. I'm not going to try to get YouTube in order to change their terms of service to prevent communists from speaking. I'm not going to do any of those things. So you can say whatever you want on your channel. I can say whatever I want on mine. And people are free to switch between channels and listen to the opinions that they want. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you do. Whether you watch me or BreadTube, you're going to reach CNN. Because that's what's on the YouTube recommended sections anyway. And creators like myself and BreadTube are being phased out. I don't think like there is a conflict of interest right now between progressive people on YouTube and conservative people, between left and right. No, it's individual, independent content creators versus corporate. This is what's happening on YouTube right now. That's the actual conversation. I don't think that Vosh is a threat to my channel just as much as I'm not a threat to his channel. What I do think is that, yes, CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, those are a threat to our channels. Because you see the people from YouTube coming out and saying, oh yeah, we're going to crack down on people that are using YouTube from their basement. Basement-dwelling YouTubers. Say, okay, yeah, I understand. ANCAP is a conservative that smokes too much weed. Libertarian is a conservative that smokes weed. I don't think you people can see like there was a difference between Spartacists and Socialist Democrats in Weimar. I'm not really aware of Weimar history to the point where I can make that distinction, no. You should say that the insanity that Eastern Europe suffers under communism... Yeah, well, I already did that. Shave your head like Sargon and Dev did. No. Apparently, the restrictions in my country, the government, in their infinite benevolence, is going to allow me from 15th of May to go outside. So I will be able to leave my home without having to show papers if I travel out. And then hair salons are also open. So I guess I'll just have to sit on a waiting line for the next 4 or 5 months so I can get my hair cut. Do you know what's interesting? Apparently, people are talking about flattening the curve. You know, like we did the quarantine to flatten the curve. And some countries like mine made some restrictions. It's like if it's not a medical emergency, you're not going to go to the hospital during these 2 months. So, you know, there were even a couple of medical emergencies that were classified as not medical emergency, but that's neither here nor there. So, when the hospitals will finally open, like for example, dentists. You know, my girlfriend had an appointment to the dentist. And they said, well, no, you can't go now because the dentistry is closed, only emergency. When the hospitals will open, like there is going to be so many patients flooding. And the way I compare it is like, imagine you do a desk job where you have to file paperwork and you don't do that job for 2 months and the paperwork just keeps stacking. Like that's how it's going to be when people finally goes back to their hospitals. What I think about Rojava, I have no idea what Rojava is. I'm not that knowledgeable. Did you change your avatar, man? Like, look, he changed his avatar. The main divides are between authoritarians and libertarians, communists and anti-communists who are just a shame. Yeah, well, should we look at the news today? By the way, I found something interesting to do while under quarantine. So apparently, if you're bored under the lockdown, you can call a women's rights group and ask to speak to the man in charge. I was like, huh? Well, I didn't get it. I didn't get it. Okay. Did you know that, or should we talk about Kickstarter now? Or, alright. This is something interesting. I keep trying to tell people that this is why I don't like the government legislating stuff, because more often than not, and I'm telling this as a person who studied law, more often than not, the government wants to fix a problem that they notice. So they come up with a solution. And when they implement the solution, the effect is entirely opposite than, usually it exacerbates the problem. You know, like the most scary things that you can hear is a knock on the doors with a guy saying, hey, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. So apparently in India, during the British imperial occupation, the Brits tried to get rid of cobras by offering a reward for captured snakes. Now, this is exactly what I thought. Why wouldn't you just grow the snakes and sell the snakes to the government? Because it's much cheaper and safer than to go out and capture them. And apparently, like the Indians did, locals started breeding cobras and giving them to the government to collect the reward. So when the British found this out, they stopped the program. But what happens is that the snake breeders got attached to the snakes, so they couldn't kill them, and they just let them in the wild, which increased the population of snakes. And I felt like, wow, this is actually really cool. What do you mean it's moronic? Okay, do you want me to give you another example? Transgender bathrooms, okay? The idea is to create like a separate bathroom for transgender people to use them. What happens is that companies do not want to invest the money in creating a third bathroom. So what they do is they just label their already existing bathrooms into unisex. France did the same with rats. Same result. Only rats breed a lot faster. Imprison transgenders. Problem solved. Yeah, what happens when the prison population gets too big? What happens when, all right, let's assume that you have, you know, like you're implementing what you want. Then you realize that the prisons get overcrowded and the actual murderers and, you know, like people that are a danger to society, where are you going to put them? I know we do something else. Who do I support in the Middle East? The Kurds. The Kurds, even though they bring communism. I also like the Iranians, to be honest. Like, when did an Iranian do something bad to me? And if you want to be an Islamophobe in polite circles, like you want to, you know, like, yeah, I'm Islamophobe, but, you know, you keep it under the radar, I would support Israel, right? So this is my advice for Islamophobes. Repeat after me. Israel #1, China #2, Sri Lanka #3, you know, like that. Oh yeah, Assad. Assad is, from what I understand, they managed to keep Syria into a diverse place. Like there's Christians and Muslims there. So yeah, if you ask me personally, but I'm not as educated as. Well, you know, given the fact that you have Christians and Muslims in Syria. And they were fighting ISIS. Like, if you're fighting ISIS, you're definitely doing something good. Yeah. Let's, well, the thing with Assad, that you know, like, what made me support him was that I heard some interviews from BBC with him. And it's like, okay, he doesn't sound like a maniac to me. And then it's like, Assad is winning. He's kicking out the West from Syria. And all of a sudden, he's doing gas attacks to give the West a reason to go into Syria. Like, none of that ever made sense to me. It's like, why would they? Like, literally, the only thing that would have gotten the Americans to get re-involved in Syria was if he were to use chemical weapons. So he's winning. He doesn't use chemical weapons to win. And all of a sudden, he deploys them for the Lulzi. I'm like, what? How does that make sense? In what world is that? Like, the only way it makes sense if he is like an absolute crazy psychopath. And I heard interviews with him, and he didn't strike me as an absolute crazy psychopath. Yeah. So no, like the Kurds, Iran, Israel, and I guess we could add Syria to that list. Is that even something that I can say without being dangerous? What if I influence world politics? All right. Did you know that Kickstarter is going bankrupt right now? Like it's so funny. It is beyond ushikushi to see Kickstarter going bankrupt. Can you imagine? Like Kickstarter used to be, I guess the same way as saying Google it. You know, it was a brand that was so widely used. Like I have a project. Well, but like I have an idea, but I don't have money for it. Like, why don't you kickstart it? You know, like it was literally becoming a brand. But they decided at one point, it's like, okay, we're not going to do business with bigots. And it wasn't just like, you know, people that are actually dangerous, like communists and Nazis. No. It was, for example, my boy Zach. My boy Zach is a comic book critic who has a YouTube channel. And he doesn't like DC Comics and Marvel. He criticizes their stories. So because of that, he makes a lot of enemies. He makes a lot of people that like him. People from the media and people from DC. And then he starts his own comic book, which had nothing to do with politics at all. Like it wasn't... Because I see certain comics that are actually political. But no, like his comic is... Jawbreakers, like some military. I don't even know. I don't watch his comics. But he made a couple of millions. I think, well, not a couple of million. I think he made a couple of $100,000, like at least $1 million from all the numbers that he sold so far. So he tries to push his project on Kickstarter, and they're like, "Oh no, we're not supporting you," and they shut it up. So he goes on Indiegogo. He goes to Kickstarter's competitor, and then Kickstarter hires this lady in order to make sure that she keeps people like Zach from going into the business. It's more like they're doing a protection racket for DC and Marvel, if you think about it, because independent comics are a competitor to the big comic book groups. And today, well, not today, I guess on March 11, so yesterday, the diversity commissar gets fired. Breaks my heart to say that this will be my last week at Kickstarter. So 40% of the people at Kickstarter got laid off. Oh, I bet you wish Zach was selling his comic through Kickstarter now, don't you? You could have got a couple of $100,000 as profits from that. Such a shame, such a pity. And when you go on Twitter, you will see journalists and people from the comic book industry, from DC and Marvel, going, "Oh, we're so sad to see you go. Oh, this is so bad." Like, this was literally a woman that was saying which customers aren't allowed to use the platform. Like, this was literally a job position, which was saying, like, yeah, we don't need your patronage. Like, imagine this, you know, like having a business, and it's not like a bar or, you know, like a club where you need to be selective with the clientele because it's like a limited building, right? Like, you can't have 100,000 people in a club. No, you need to limit. But no, like, this was the internet. Like, literally, the sky was your oyster. Like, the world was your oyster. You could have as many people as you want using Kickstarters, but they hired the person that says, yeah, we're not going to allow you. It's like, that is just money wasted. Like, money wasted because these people just went to the competition, and now the competition is doing fine. Like, I'm not hearing Indiegogo going through problems. Any guess how much these diversity officers and managers take? Yeah, it was a couple of $200,000 per year, if I'm not mistaken. Let me check it out. Diversity officer wage. Now, take into account, not all the people make this much amount of cash. So the medium is $180,000 per year, while at the extreme end, they make around $300,000 per year. And what does it mean to be a diversity officer? Well, just think about it. You go to a tech company. The actual people creating the product, they're crunching the number. They're working like 10, 11 hours a day in an open office, which is corporate hell. But you get to sit above the mortals in a private office with air conditioning. And all you do, like literally all you have to do is to send in some emails, to, you know, like have a presentation or something like that. That's it. That's your job. Like, that is literally your job. And from what I understand, because I speak with people that work at Blizzard, at Ubisoft, at EA Games, at different companies, And they all tell me the same thing. Like, these people go to work, they work like 2 or 3 hours, and then they drink wine in their offices. Like, they invite, you know, different people from HR, from marketing, and they just sit together and drink wine. While the actual people in the open office do the actual work. 10, 11 hours, and they're paid poorly. They're paid worse than a diversity manager. Yeah, they are drinking at work. Like, yeah, they are drinking at work. Yeah, they drink wine and gossip. That's literally what they do. They go there, they work like 2 or 3 hours, but they have to stay 8 hours. And during the extra time, they drink some wine, and they have fun and they gossip. Easy money, easy job. Yes. But again, it's like, it's difficult to get the job. Like, that is where the problems come in, because I laugh at straight white men, even gay men actually, that go to one of these universities that train you to be a gender officer, you know? Because you're never going to get it. It's like a woman trying to study at a university of Catholic theology. Like, you're never going to become a Catholic priest woman. It's not possible, you know? And it's the same thing with a white guy trying to become a diversity officer. I asked, like, I literally asked, like, you can see a white woman being a diversity officer, but usually it's like either a black woman or some chubby lady that's also white, but never ever have I heard of a white guy that's a diversity officer. The degree for diversity officer is anthropology. No. Because see, here's the thing. They don't actually make diversity. Like, there are studies that show they're not actually there to make diversity. They're there to push corporate ideology onto the people. And pretty much, like, they would rather have a progressive white guy than a conservative black man. Yeah, it's a diversity commissar. But before diversity, there was a similar job. It was attitude adjustment, but that kind of sounds bad, you know, attitude adjustment. If you watch RoboCop 2, oh my god, like, RoboCop 2 is one of the best movies that people just do not appreciate. Let me see if I can find you, and I'll tell you why. Yeah, Juliet Fox is the name. So let me just go with RoboCop 2 directive. A lot of people like, do not enjoy the story from RoboCop 2, but they're really missing the point. Give me just 1 second, because I need to find this. All right, I found it. But I wanna find the other ones. Okay, I found it. So the whole reason the new RoboCop, I think, didn't make the same amount of money as the previous one was that RoboCop was, it was a very political film, okay? Besides the fact that you're having, like, oh, okay, the coolness factor, like, he's a robot, but he's a policeman. It was also a criticism on corporations becoming too powerful, to the point where the actual police force gets replaced by a company. And because it's replaced by a company, it now needs to have a corporate face. It now needs to be, quote-unquote, friendly to the public. So the original RoboCop, he had a couple of directives which allowed him to do proper police work. And the directives were vague, but at the same time allowed some personal freedom in policing. It was serve the public trust, protect the innocent, uphold the law, and then there was like a fourth directive that it was secret, but basically made him unable to arrest any member of the board of the company that created him. So, you know, it was like the company that created him basically was above the law. But that was like, you know, in RoboCop 1. Now, in RoboCop 2, what happens is that he almost gets destroyed by a couple of gangsters. So the company has to rebuild him. And they get Juliet Fax, which was the attitude adjustment person at the company. Basically, the diversity officer of today, if you will. And the way she decides to rebuild RoboCop was to install around 300 new directives, which pretty much made them unable to do actual police work. He's unable to catch bad guys anymore. And the directives are like, for example, avoid stereotyping, encourage participating in public activities, keep an open mind, smile, talk things out, commend sincere efforts, discourage harsh language, encourage awareness, don't rush traffic lights. And basically, like, the entire story of RoboCop 2 is that he's now unable to do even like the most basic police work, because anything he tries to do, it's like, okay, a bad guy is running away. Well, he tries to follow him, but he comes into conflict with Directive 246, don't rush traffic lights. It's really interesting, right? Or he sees a bad guy doing something, like with a gun, and it's like, well, he can't intervene because it says avoid stereotyping. So I really love the RoboCop 2 sequel, but a lot of people, I don't know, like they just skipped over that. I guess it comes better with age. You know, it aged like a really good fine wine. What do you mean you can't see it? What do you mean you can't see it? I think you can see it. I showed it on the stream. Give me a second. There you go. Don't stereotype criminals breaking the law. Yeah. No, it's a really good movie. I highly recommend it. Look, both of the guy's parents are Russian, and people are blaming me if I were to stereotype him as a communist. I bet they colluded with Trump, didn't they? Here's one that's funny. Did you know that Elon Musk... No, I need to read this. I generally do not know, like, the obsession that the media has with Elon Musk. Here we go. Wait, God damn it, Google. Here we go. Like, that is an actual obsession that the mainstream media has with Elon Musk. Did you notice that? I generally, like, not like there are other CEOs, there are other people out there that you don't hear anything about. Like, what do you know about the oil giants? What do you know about, I don't know, the CEO of Ford? Absolutely nothing. But the mainstream media is just livid talking about Elon Musk, and I think it's because he doesn't toe the line. He's a little bit more outspoken. He posts cat girls on his freaking Twitter. So clearly he is a danger to society. But apparently he says that he plans to quit the Golden State. So he's going to move away from California because of the shutdown orders. Now, I have said this since the dawn of age. It's like, look, in America, if you do not take the same measures in every single state, if you do not have the same policy throughout the entire United States, what will happen is that businesses are going to move from certain areas into others because they're going to look at their profits. They're going to say, well, I'm not taking this financial hit. Fuck this shit. And they're just going to move somewhere else. And this will create a lot of people unemployed. But, you know, apparently a senator, or sorry, a politician is saying that, oh, fuck Elon Musk. Well, you did. You did fuck him. That's why he's leaving. Like, literally, that is why he's in it, because you fucked him. So, Lorena Gonzalez said, responding that he would move, he's calling him, he say, fuck Elon Musk. Lorena Gonzalez sent the tweet. Shortly after he said he would move his pioneering tech company to either Texas or Nevada because of an ongoing spat about reopening in California. The Progressive Democrats' blunt message sparked outrage among many of our followers who called her classless and an embarrassment to the community she represents. Yes, because despite the fact that you're left or right, you still want a job. And you still are worried that if this guy moves out, there's going to be more people unemployed. Like, here's the thing. Even if I don't work for Tesla, even if I do not work for them, if those people get fired and they're looking for new jobs, well, next time I write a resume, I might compete with some of the freshly unemployed people from Tesla. It's really bad if he moves. You know, plus the government is going to lose on taxes. Others also noted the irony in her choice of words, given that the local politicians are the reason the guy wants to leave. Exactly what I'm saying. It's like, fuck Elon Musk. It's like, well, you already did. That's why he's leaving. Screw the guy who was actually creating a company and jobs, blah, blah, blah. I understand now he's actually going to defy the stay-at-home order and he's going to work anyway on the assembly line. Like, I don't know about that, but it's just like, it's you know, like, this is why The Onion went bankrupt. You cannot make jokes anymore. Like, anything I were to say as humor and as sarcasm, it wouldn't make sense anymore. Because the reality is actually funnier. Texas versus California. Well, fun fact, Texas is becoming California because a lot of people are running away from California and they're going into Texas and they're bringing their politics with them. Like, I understand there is a big chunk of Texas that is now very progressive. So, yeah. Personally, I would rather live in a state that doesn't have shit on the street. Like, I hear, look, I'm going to say Texas, and I will tell you why. Like, despite the religious fanatics and, you know, the Bible Belt and all of that, I hear stories from California that are really disturbing. Like, I actually talked with a Californian representative on Twitter with the blue check mark and all. And he told me, it's like, look, you can go out of your house and you can see a guy pushing heroin into his vein with a syringe. And, you know, like, you're taking your kids to school and there is that. And you cannot call the cops on him because the cops won't come. Like, it's insane. Like, there is this video on YouTube with a guy which had a couple of homeless people jump onto his property and setting up tents and making loud noises during the middle of the night. So the guy calls the cops. The cops arrive and they side with the homeless people and they say, look, if you try to destroy their tents or you try to evacuate them from your property, by the way, you are going to pay damages. California is 60 to 70% white. Well, wasn't America like 90% white or something? I'm not even into racial identity politics. But it seems to me that a lot of people care. What was it? There was an article in the New York Times saying Michigan is too white. How do we diversify that? America is 60% white. How white was it in the 80s or the 70s or the 50s? Is the trend going to stop or is it going to, you know, like, again, it's not that I care so much, but if you want to open the conversation, I'm willing to have it. Texas is more American than America. Well, I'll tell you what, I'd rather live in a state that doesn't have shit on the streets. How about that? Do you think that's a good place to start? I would rather live in a state that willingly giving AIDS to someone is a crime and not just a misdemeanor. Like, look at this shit. All right, let me show you something. Like, in what world is this normal? New California law reduces penalty for knowingly exposing someone to HIV. So we're not talking about, you know, I have HIV, and I don't know about it, and I have sex with someone and now I infect them as well. No, no, no. We're talking about like, I know I have it, I have sex with you, and I don't tell you about it, and I infect you. In our country, Poopsikins, this is a crime. It's almost as bad as attempted murder, because it's the same like poisoning someone. Well, in California, it's like, it's a misdemeanor. It's like driving without a seatbelt bullshit. Now, again, what's really funny is that this is going to affect the people that are doing boot sex. Not just the gay community. Any type of person that has a huge amount of people they're having sex with and they're having boot sex. Because AIDS, like having AIDS is like playing Russian roulette. Okay? If you have sex with someone that has AIDS, it doesn't guarantee that you get it. But again, it's like playing Russian roulette with one bullet on the chamber. And if you had boot sex, you had more bullets on the chamber, because AIDS transmits a lot more easily through blood than through any other fluid. So when you have sex with a vagina that is built in order to support the pounding, the asshole is not. The asshole has micro tears and small bleedings. Even though you don't see it, they exist microscopic. So it's a lot more easy to give AIDS to someone that you have boot sex. This is why gay people are more likely to transmit AIDS to other gay people than straight people or lesbians. Right? It's scientific. It's not, you know, stigmatizing or stereotyping. So this law literally hurts the gay community. It doesn't hurt the straight community. It doesn't hurt the lesbians. It doesn't hurt anyone else besides the gay community that the progressives are constantly talking about defending and representing. Going back to the same thing with the snakes. In other words, there was actually an article, I remember last year, and they were saying massive rise in AIDS in California because of homophobia. And I'm like, motherfucker, are you fucking serious? Like, is this where we're at? Like, you actually make it easier for people to spread AIDS? Look, think about it. Like, normally, someone does this, okay? Like, a person willingly infects someone else. They go to prison. In prison, they don't infect other people, I am to assume. Outside, they get more people to infect. And then, you know, like, you notice a raise, again, in the AIDS with the gay population. It's like, oh, it's homophobia because hospitals do not treat gay people. Get the fuck up. Mr. Clean Thumbnail, yeah, I know. California is the wealthiest and best state to live. Oh, did you look at the wealth disparity, Mr. Communist? Or does that not matter? You know, it's like saying Romania under Ceausescu was a really wealthy place. Yes, it was, but the wealth disparity isn't. Look at the number of homeless people. Yeah, look at the number of people that are doing heroin and crack. By the way, didn't they do recently in California, they opened hotels and they're giving crack and alcohol to homeless people, like to make them addicted, so they stay there to feed into their vices. Horrible. Dude, you don't know a lot about socialism. Well, maybe I don't, but I know a lot about California, and I know a lot about wealth disparity. Like, wealth disparity is a big problem. I don't care if the nation is the wealthiest nation in the world, if the people actually don't get to have any of the money. Like, look at South Africa, and look at the people leading South Africa. Let me show you something. So, look at South African leaders. Very few people know about this, actually. So South Africa also talks about socialism and talks about, you know, taking the farms away from white people and blah, blah, blah. And then when you look, I think this is Zimbabwe. Yeah, Zimbabwe, not South Africa. My bad. But South Africa is not very far. This is the car, right? When you think about Zimbabwe, do you think about wealth? Do you think about the prosperous nation? Probably not. This is the dictator's son car. He wanted a Batmobile. This is a legit, like, functioning car that is looking like this. You know, look at another article. Rich kids from Zimbabwe. Now we're talking again about a country which why can't I get the actual article? It just doesn't want to show me. All right, fine. We're talking about a country where, when you look at how the average guy lives, the average person lives, okay, it looks like something like this. You know, this is what you get to see in the Guardian and in the news. All right, you get to see people that are living in poverty, but meanwhile they're socialist leaders. And again, like yeah, they're not real socialists. I get it, but they preach socialism. Like you know, they hide under the guise of socialism. Let's redistribute the wealth and whatnot. Okay, those people, they live like this. Oh look, this is a better picture. You know. So while the actual people are starving and they're living in poverty and whatnot, you have the leaders living in the most obscene wealth that you can possibly imagine. Cars taken from African leaders sold for $27 million at auction. Look at this shit. So, you know, I don't care how rich a nation is, but I do care a lot about wealth disparity. Like, what is the difference between someone that's at the top, and what is the difference between the average member of the population? African socialism is absolutely fascinating. Its functionality, the equivalent of fascism and National Socialism, a critique of Marxism applied to their specific context, and it results in that stuff. Yes, I do agree with that. No, like the problem with socialism, like this is my main concern with it, is that it's about redistributing the wealth, right? So people take money and then they have to redistribute it. Well, the step one is easy. You take the money, but once you have the money, why redistribute it? Why not just keep it? And this is where almost every single socialist ideology fails. Once you have the power, once you have the money, you do not feel like giving it to other people anymore. It's not Comrade V, it's Tovarish. Tovarish V. Huh? Can I be a tanky? I understand that Vosh declared war on tankies from his community. Tovarishul, yes, Tovarish. You know, Tovarish was gender neutral. I just realized this. For those of you who don't know, Tovarish was like Mr. And it was like Tovarish teacher, Tovarish doctor, you know, Tovarish. And it was gender neutral. Yes, Tovarish. I kind of missed it. No, Tovarisha wasn't even used. Like, Tovarisha educatoare. No. Tovarisha. And maybe it's like, because Romania, it's a Latin language, and we... Was it Tovarisha? Like, that doesn't that sound bad? Like, Tovarisha, Ilana Ceaușescu. Yeah, no, you're right. But in English, it's just Tovarish. Okay? This is because Romania is a Latin language. And we gender everything. But in Russian and in Romania, in Russian and in English is gender neutral. Yeah, the same way people use doctorița, which is wrong. Comrade is the gayest word in the English language, and you know what? That's fabulous. No, the gayest word in the English language is faggot. Like, it used to add some gravitas to whatever you are saying. You know, I'm not talking about insulting a gay person. No. I'm talking like looking at someone and using the word faggot in a sentence. Like, it added gravitas. It added a series of seriousness. You know, like, there was this guy from Antifa, by the way, which was complaining about his landlord. And he basically said that his landlord demanded that he pays the rent during the quarantine because he got access to some Trump box. And then it's fun. So he goes on a tirade about landlords and how evil they are and parasites and blah, blah, blah. Okay. And then it's revealed that his landlord is his grandma. And I'm reading that and it's like, what a fucking faggot. You know, like, it's the first thing that you go. It's like, it fits like a glove. It fits like a little glove. And it's like... Apparently, every single time a word fits like a glove, it needs to be hateful or something. Let me see if I can find it. Let me see if I can find it, because this one was just... Yeah, here we go. Antifa activist sues landlord over stimulus violation. So again, like he gets money from the Trump box, and the landlord goes like, well, if you have money, can you pay me? And he sues his landlord. And then you find out that the landlord is his grandmother. And I'm reading this, it's like, what a fucking faggot. And apparently, you know, this is hate speech now. Fish smell wants me to stop. Can't stop, won't stop. I have no strong feelings for this man. Like, look, I'm like part of the person that believes that when it's like grandmothers are something sacred, you know, especially if a grandmother gives you her place to stay. It's just like, come on, like even if you have a disagreement with her, do you have to make it public? Do you have to sue your who sues their grandmother? I'm not like, you know, like, who sues their grandmother? I don't think Antifa Romania would sue his grandma. Would you sue your Mima? Like, be honest, would you sue your Mima over anything? That just does not sit well with me. I don't care about your ideology. Look, he would never do it. Like, I don't care about your ideology. You can be like the worst person in the world. You know what? Hitler wouldn't sue his grandmother, I think. Like, it is just, this has nothing to do with politics. It has nothing to do with that. It's something like primal, you know, that is supposed to be microchipped into your brain since birth. Do that sue the grandmother. I mean, no, like, there are cases where you do sue your family members. No, I know a lot of cases where you do sue your family members. You know where? Let's see if people know. Where is the most common lawsuit with family members? By the way, the wife doesn't count. Like, I'm talking about relatives, like blood. His inbred, no. Buddies, no. Divorce, no. That's with the wife, doesn't count. Death. Inheritance, inheritance law. Like, if you go to inheritance law, I guarantee to you, every single inheritance lawsuit is a really excellent comedy show that you would put on television. Like, if people would know how funny inheritance law is, you would just spend your time, instead of going to the cinema, you'd go to a courtroom. Like, you see sisters calling each other whores, calling each other sluts. It's like, she never cared about the father. No, she was whoring herself. She was the whore of the village, and blah, 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 blah. Like, you get to hear these things. You get to hear these things, and you just watch, and you don't know what to make of it. It's like, you realize these people are family members, like they're sisters, right? Like, this is going to pass. Like, the inheritance is going to be over, and then they're going to have to find common ground to live together again. Malin Bot? Well, I don't follow Malin Bot, but I did ask someone that does, and his opinion on Malin Bot is that depending who pays him, he is going to talk the correct things. But again, like, I generally do not know. I don't follow him. I don't want to say anything about it. Only inheritance should be given to the Catholic Church. The family should receive nothing. Yes. Then why even work in life? What's the point in working if you're not going to be able to work for your kids? Well, I mean, he is paid. If you go on his Patreon, he gets like $3,000. You know, it's unaccountable money. But again, like, I also get paid, so it's interesting to see if he gets like a big chunk of a donation, right? Like, if most of my donations are like $5, $10. I also get a couple of hundreds. But if you go to someone's Patreon and you see that someone gets like $1,000 per month, yeah, that is a little bit suspicious. So it depends, yeah. I think Brianna Wu was like paid $30,000 a month at one point by one donor. It's like, okay, that is money laundering. There is no way you can tell me that is paid by the public. So no, like, if there are like big, small donations, like $5, $10, $50, $20, you know, and you get a couple of hundreds, yeah, no, that's fine. But if you have like massive, like $1,000 donations from just one person, that is shady. That is definitely something to look into. I'm not saying it's wrong, but it is something to look into. 130,000 kilometer border with Russia, huh? Create multiple accounts. Yeah, but no one does that. Like, if you create multiple accounts, you like, first of all, if you give $1,000, no one is going to look into it. Like, people don't actually think like that. And secondly, like, look, I keep hearing, oh, we need to make sure that bigots don't make money. Let me tell you how Islam, like how theocratic nations bypass a lot of laws in our countries. You see, it's illegal in some European countries to be financed by a foreign government. So, for example, if I'm an imam and I want to get money from Saudi Arabia, I can't. It's illegal. So what they do is, and I know this from Imam Tawhidi, I actually had him on an interview. Like, he told me that the way it works is that they put you to publish a book on Amazon, and you put the book on Amazon, and then the Saudi government purchases like 1 million copies of the book, and then you just get the money. Another way is that you can see a lovely Islamic lady all the way dressed up in hijab with jewelry and trinkets and everything like that. And she goes into the country, and when she leaves, she doesn't have any of the jewelry. But not to mention, like in Romania, if you want funding, you don't even need to use the internet. Like, most Romanians don't use the internet. So if you have like a far-right party, like, it would either be someone like Gigi Becali supporting it, or you'd have like actual people giving money through post or through email. Romania is not corporate enough for the leftist censorship to actually function. It doesn't work like that. Most Romanians do not use Kickstarter. Most Romanians wouldn't use Indiegogo. Most Romanians don't even trust the internet, except if you're in a big city. Like maybe in Bucharest and Cluj and places like that. But the rural Romania doesn't function like that. And the only place you would have like an actual far-right party would come from the rural places. Yeah, you're not going to get that. Let's talk about a funny thing, and then I will end the chat. I guess I'll be playing some Final Fantasy later on, because I didn't manage to make any moolah during this. But I hope it was entertaining, you know, just because I don't make super chats, I hope you guys are still entertained. Going to do better next time to entertain you even more. And then again, I don't blame you guys, because I understand a lot of people are unemployed during this time. So if you don't have a job, then cling to your cash. Do not give them to me. All right, I found it. Let me just bring it up. So apparently, this is a skit to stop, quote-unquote, black-on-black violence. Now, I didn't know black-on-black violence is... Thank you, Momo. I appreciate that. I'm still going to play Final Fantasy, though. But, Jesus, like, a $10 super chat would have been nice. My God. Thank you, Jojo, as well. Alright. I'm a little bit taken aback. I don't know if I can go on explaining the situation. But yeah, so this is a skit to prevent black-on-black violence. I love the fact that they don't talk about stopping American violence or, you know, violence in general. It's like, no, black on black. And a lot of the jokes that they're doing, if I were to do them on my channel, ooh la 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 la. Did you notice that when two black people talk with each other, there's so many bleeps that you don't even know what they're saying anymore? Because like, bloop, 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 bloop. You could really see the gay tension, huh? Read the other super chats. Oh, I got other super chats. Sorry, they just didn't appear. So thank you, Jetster. Thank you, Saniko. Thank you, Hey Momo. Like, is not Momo a moderator yet? Now, And yeah, did I miss any others? I am taken aback. I'm not used to getting $100. It's a lot, man. Especially in Romania, it is a lot. Like when I used to be a doctor, like work in the hospital. Well, I'm still a doctor, but before I quit, was making like around $300 after tax. Technically, I didn't get $100. I got like 50 because, you know, after tax. But still, it's a lot. How much does $100 get me? Well, it depends. I mean, you can go to the most expensive restaurant in my country and you would not manage to eat for $100. Like, let me show you what I mean. I mean, unless you buy some, you know, $100 wine, which you can find, but like if you go to a place like this, and you just, you know, like you actually buy things from the menu. You buy like main course, you buy dessert, you buy the first one. You're not going to get past 30 or 40 bucks. And again, like this is a luxurious place, right? No, sorry, this one, right? It's a luxurious restaurant. Well, no, actually, this is Mamma Mia. This is shit. Oh my god. No, but yeah, you can go to a place like this. I don't think any place in my town you can eat for more than 30 or 40 bucks. Even if it's a lot of burger, I want to grab McDonald's, I'm spending 20 bucks. If I go to McDonald's and I purchase like 2 Big Mac menus, I would pay like $10 for 2 Big Mac menus. Like the French fries, the hamburger, the juice. Yeah, that's 10 bucks for 2 of them. Yeah. Let me just show you one more, and then we're going to end the stream. I really like these guys. I don't know why. Okay, so there was this trend, and I still see it in my country as well, where people like to like when you buy a pair of jeans, you know, you have like that brand thing that sticks out. Like most normal people just rip it off, but I have seen so many people that just keep the brand attached, and this is what this is making fun of. Just bring it up here. I absolutely love that one. Like it's only people in the Balkans do this. Oh, sorry, only blacks do it. No, like people in Romania do it. Like I know white people that do it. It's literally like the idea, like when you're so poor and you finally get some money and you want to show others. It's like, look, I bought this expensive clothing and you need to see it and you need to know that it's expensive. Like that is the Asians do it. Yeah, a lot of people do it. You know, like the whole thing why we would buy an iPhone is another reason that you do it. Like what I find funny is like, do you know when you buy an iPhone and then you have like those covers, and the cover, like the cover of the iPhone actually has like a little circle where you get to see the Apple. Like, why do people do that if not to show to others? It's like, oh, look, I have a brand phone. I bought a brand phone. Oh, I'm having a brand. How I lost my virginity is actually really funny, but it's not the story for this time. Man, let me just show you. Okay, so I'll show you the last one. This is the best, and then I'll stop. This is the last bit and kill you're going to see on my channel. Let's see if I can find it. It's a little bit more difficult than I expected. Did they took it down from YouTube because it was really edgy? Ah, I found it. This one is the utmost best, so enjoy. Yeah, the only question that I have with this is how many times is Justin Trudeau going to get away with blackfacing himself, huh? I'm gonna do this on my deathbed. Are you sure you want me to click on this? Alright, let me see Antifa Romania's wife. Alright, hold on. Yeah. Okay, well, she is pretty looking. Give it that. Okay, right. Thank you guys for watching. I'll be playing Final Fantasy later on, and as usually, the stream will self-destruct.